Good afternoon. My name is Chris Adlam with Youth Pledge for Employers, and I'm delighted to be joined by Jen Sands this afternoon, the owner of Jen Sands Online Business Management. Hello, Jen Sands.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for giving up your time this afternoon. And I guess my starter for 10 question has to be, please, can you tell us a bit about Jen Sands Online Business Management and what you do?
Yeah, lovely, thank you. So I run my business to support small business owners, to empower them in everything they do with their administration inside their business, anything to do with their social media, email marketing, really in a twofold approach of either empowering them to be able to do the things themselves, to run their business really effectively, or to do those things alongside them in their business, to allow them to focus on the core of their business and do the parts that they really enjoy, and leave the admin, marketing, social media side and stuff to our team of geniuses who can take care of all that for them.
That's amazing. You've touched a little bit on it there, but I say when you've got all these various areas of expertise where you could help an organization in, can you give us an example? As I say, you don't have to reveal your client list, but can you give us an example of maybe a problem a business might come to you with, and sort of, how you would use your, your team and your knowledge and stuff to solve that, and the processes you'd use?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my clients is a wedding cake maker. So she absolutely loves making wedding cakes, making sugar flowers, all of the things, all the creative side, designing, baking, delivering, all that kind of thing. But if you sort of dig the business apart a little bit, you'll notice that that's only one layer. It's a very important layer, but it's only one layer of the business. So behind all of that, you've got the consultations, the customer service to the clients, arranging all of the things with the venues. And then a bit further down, you've got invoicing, you've got making sure that the clients have got their proposals and sketches and that kind of thing. And then further down again, you've got your actual business processes of your own accounts and your own marketing and social media and that sort of thing. So there's many layers, a bit like a cake, I suppose, to running a business like that. So having me on board in her business allows her to enjoy all of the creating, enjoy the design side of things, take her time on deliveries and networking with other suppliers and that kind of thing, whilst myself and my team help with the overall admin side of the business, making sure the couples that come to us feel really nurtured, because it's a massive part of the wedding, and everything like that. So there's really two sides, kind of the doing of the business and then the behind the scenes admin side. So yeah, I think that gives quite a good example of where we can come in and help.
No, I completely agree, and it's actually quite refreshing, because I guess it would be really easy for people when they sort of hear phrases like sort of online business management to think of that all as quite faceless and quite big and quite scary, if you see what I mean. Whereas it sounds like actually working with smaller businesses, you bring a real sort of personable approach to it. And would you say that actually that's sort of, to work in the field you do, would you say that that's sort of a trait you need to have significantly?
Yeah, absolutely. I think caring for the business owner and their business, we would all refer to our own businesses as like, oh, it's like my baby, So if you feel like if you've started your own business and you've never had like external support and help, really, at the point that you're kind of letting somebody in under the hood, that kind of approach, it's a bit like, oh, and so many people say to me like, oh, don't look at my inbox, and oh, don't look at my box of receipts, and oh, don't look at my social media feed because you'll say it's terrible. And it's like, well, it's not, nothing's terrible, we all only ever try our best in all that we do. But if you're coming to talk to me and would like some help and support, it's because you want to step things up a bit, and you've recognised perhaps that you've grown, so you do need that external support and that kind of delegating and outsourcing, and that's a really positive thing, because it means you've grown, it means your business has developed. And yeah, absolutely. And I very much aim to work with my clients in like a long-term capacity, because I kind of feel like if I'm in, I'm all in. Like, let's go, let's get involved, let's dig it all apart so I can completely understand the business, understand your ethos and your values, because that kind of thing is really important to come across in everything that you do. You know, the way in which you speak to your clients, the way in which you word your website and come across in marketing, you know, and all that sort of thing. Like everything sings from that same hymn sheet.
No, I completely understand that, and I think myself, if I was a sort of a small business owner, I think that's exactly what I'd want to hear. And yeah, actually, I want someone to have, as you say, yeah, I think comparing it to a baby is a very, you know, a very good comparison. And yeah, I'd want to put it in the hands of someone who, you know, yeah, I could trust to nurture it. So I completely agree with that. And you've touched a little bit about on your team and sort of the different people involved. So can you give us a sort of rough idea of sort of the kind of roles people have within your team, and maybe sort of, I know there's no such thing as a typical day, okay, I completely agree that in any industry, but if you sort of had to sort of maybe summarize the kind of things they're dealing with on, you know, a typical day, you know, what would they be?
Yeah, so I started off the business, as many of us do, just with myself, and as my client base grew and I kind of moved into different areas and recognised the trends as well of what these small business owners need help and support with, like what are their pain points and how could we perhaps lift the burden of that. And it made me see that I wanted to help further, but my knowledge and experience and capacity and like available hours as well only reaches so far, of course. So, you know, I'm reaching out to these small business owners who are overwhelmed and overworked, but then if I take all of that on myself, I then become overwhelmed and overworked. So I quickly kind of recognize that I want to help and support and do all of the things, but then I'm not necessarily always going to be the very best person to do that for them. So I decided to look at growing a small team who all work, and we all work then in what I call our own zones of genius. So I've got a lady who used to be an accountant who now works for herself. So she's on my team. So she helps me with all of the finance side and the bookkeeping, and, you know, and all that kind of thing. I've then got a tech genius person on my team. So she will do all of like course building and all things on like systems and platforms and stuff. Like we work well with, I do the creative side, the content writing and the image designing and stuff. I hand it to her and she does all of the processing, all of the, you know, putting it in place kind of thing. And it all kind of runs through quite nicely. I've then got another couple of members who I would kind of say they're half a member each, who help me on an ad hoc basis for kind of general admin tasks. And that might be for me in my business, or I would, you know, ask for their help and support on sort of ad hoc things for what the clients need. So we're kind of all in our little bubble of genius, and it all kind of comes together, all the strings, you know, collate together, and we deliver a really great service for our clients. So in terms of like a typical day, so we use a task management system called ClickUp. So everything is housed in there. So I oversee all of the things and would kind of set out tasks. So you'd have like one task and it'd have a title. I always put as much detail in there as I can to give as much information as possible for the person to be able to crack on really and do what they need to do. Set a due date, because, you know, communication and deadlines and things are really important in business. And it just makes it really clear between all of us. You know, if I've set a due date and they can't quite achieve that, for example, they'll just drop a note and say, oh, I just need another half a day on this. That's absolutely fine. Like, I always allow a bit of breathing room with these things. But so everything is set out in the task management system, and it's just a kind of a case of keeping on top of that, really. There's different tasks that follow different kind of processes and steps and things, but generally everything's set out in the task management system. So whatever your general working day looks like in terms of hours, so I generally work during school hours. So I would start from the top and work down the list, really. It is I have kind of monthly arrangements where I'll generally, the first week of the month, I'll have calls with clients to kind of set out the priorities for the month and that kind of thing, and then I really try for at the end of the working day just to give a look over tomorrow's tasks, so you can kind of just understand where you are, what's needed. if you're waiting for a piece of content, for example, to be able to do your task for tomorrow, just give a nudge for that today so you can get on with your stuff tomorrow. So kind of having foresight over things is really important, and open communication, and yeah, just crack on.
And just crack on. If only it was that easy. But you touched on it a little bit sort of at the start there. If we look at sort of your journey a little bit from an entrepreneurial side of things, as you say, you sort of, you know, you suddenly saw, oh, okay, this is what I want to do, you know, and as you say, sort of set this business up, you know, by yourself to start with. Two questions really. One, sort of, when I say what made you do that, you know, I don't mean that in like in a bad kind of way, but you know, like, so what was the spark for you that made you think, you know what, I really think I can go out and make something of this? And two, what traits and qualities and characteristics do you think have helped you as I say, have sort of built it up to a point now where, as you say, you know, you've got a team and things, you know, so in, you know, say maybe the early days when it was probably its biggest challenge, you know, as I say, yeah, what characteristics and traits really helped you through that?
Yeah, so how I got here was all around my dad, really. So my dad used to work for himself. My mum was sort of high flying in the like corporate office world, that kind of thing. My dad was self-employed, so he was the one doing the school runs and doing the pickup from netball club and all that kind of thing. But it meant that he was always there at the school gate. So when I started my family, I always wanted to be there at the school gate. I knew that I wanted to create something that meant that I could do that for my family as well. So it didn't start off like that to begin with. When I had my first two children, they were in nursery. You know, that's just life, isn't it? You know, it's not always dreamy. But after our third, when I had my daughter, I kind of thought, this is it now. Like I want things to change. I want to be able to do this. So when I was on maternity leave with her, it was kind of downtime of, you know, not being in employed work, sort of 9 till 5 kind of approach. And it was just kind of, at this point, I've now got, where are we, like 12 years, 10 years or so of admin experience. So I'm sort of thinking, what can I do with this? How can I make something of this? Like you say, where does it come from? Where's it born from? So I just started up. I started up volunteering for a not-for-profit company who I'd had kind of a few connections with previously, just to kind of test the waters, test the approach. How would the remote working look like? What could I do for them, being like 100 miles away from their base? You know, what would that look like? And there were things that I could help with, things like project support, general admin things, email marketing, you know, that kind of thing. But this was like 7 years ago, and an awful lot has changed in this time. And people say to me like, oh, you work from home, like from COVID. And I'm like, oh no, I did it before it was cool. Like I did it before it was, you know, before it was a thing for everybody. So that's where it built from. I was on maternity leave. I had an employed job in the evenings. So when I then went back to that, my business was built during nap times and any other spare time that I could get. And then it's kind of grew. It was that kind of play the game of balancing the scales. And then it got to a point where I left the employed job to really let things kind of soar. And it's just an approach of being consistent in what you're doing and being diligent in the service that you provide, and making sure that you genuinely are doing the very best that you can for these clients. Being honest in your approach as well of what you can deliver. There's a whole approach of, you know, fake it till you make it, which, you know, in some things you know you can think, oh, I'll give that a little Google and then I'm sure I'll be able to do that. But most things, like, you need to have, you know, have had a bit of a grasp on them initially. So, you know, read books, attend free webinars. There's plenty of free training online, you know, whatever your area of interest is. I guarantee there will be a handful of, you know, free training that you can access, and then move into, you know, paid training, which doesn't have to be a massive investment. You know, there's so much content out there to be able to work online and things, and just recognizing areas of interest, how that can work in to support these small businesses and become profitable for you. So in terms of characteristics and things, like I said earlier, if you're in, like, be all in, like, make as much effort as you can, because you're doing it for you. You know, you're doing it for you. You've grown, my name's on this business, you know, and if my name's on something, I want it to be as great as it can be. So yeah, work hard and be committed, and in all that you do, you know, be kind and thoughtful to others, because kindness goes an awfully long way.
I mean, there's so many brilliant pieces of advice there. I almost don't know which one to pick up first. I think the one I really like there as well, and I've spoken to sort of a few entrepreneurs I've been doing this, you know, these career talks, and actually you're the first one who's actually said that you almost tested the water before you did it, as you say, with sort of doing that voluntary work. And I think that's a brilliant idea. As I say, you know, I've heard sort of people say that, yeah, you know, as I say, yeah, fake it till you make it. I've definitely heard that, and I've said, yeah, you know, do the training, try to figure things out. But yeah, I say, why not test the water, if you see what I mean? And I think that's a brilliant piece of advice. And continuing with the theme of advice, and sort of actually no, I've got one more question before I get to that one. I say, you've spoken to us a little bit about sort of, you know, how the sort of business is born, how it's grown, you know, a little bit about what a typical day is, even though I know there's no such thing as a typical day. What would you say are the sort of the biggest challenges, you know, in running a business with your name on it, and what are the biggest rewards?
So the biggest challenge is, it was really difficult to open the doors and welcome in team members, and it's interesting because I speak to and encourage business owners to let me in, essentially. So I had to kind of have a quiet word with myself on, like, it's okay, like, others can come and join this gig, you know. So, but then there are things myself, you know, that I put in place to make sure that they knew how, you know, it's not necessarily how I want things done, because they work in their own zone of genius, but how I want the service that we deliver through Gensans OBM to come across, and the, you know, the support and the kindness and nurturing that we show to our clients. So yeah, I think that was definitely a challenge, opening things up. And then it's always a challenge just wanting to help everybody. And, you know, people come to me and they're like, oh, you started your business, so, like, can I ask you all of these things, and can you show me how to do this? And it's kind of like, yeah, and I will always talk to everybody and help. But then sometimes, you know, you've got to be cruel to be kind, that kind of approach of, like, you've got to try it yourself, and what worked for me may not necessarily directly work for somebody else. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge in terms of capacity as well. Like, I just, yeah, want to help as many people as possible. And when I see, and this is linking in with the rewards, like when I see the difference that it makes to small business owners and, like, my clients, and, you know, like my wedding cake lady, she's gone from making 1 to 2 cakes a week that she can now make 4 cakes a week, because her burden has lifted with the support that she gets. So seeing my client's success is all I need in terms of a reward, and to see that it's all worthwhile. And yeah, just keep, like, do the thing, see how it performs, tweak it a little bit, change the approach, do the thing again, you know, and just keep going and do it all with a smile.
Oh, what a lovely little note. My question really, sort of just to round things off really, and I've asked this to every employer I've spoken to, is that based on sort of the experiences you've described to me, the lessons you've learned and everything like that, if you could go back and speak to, say, 16, 17-year-old Jen, you know, about to go out on your career journey, you know, based on all the experiences you've had, what is the one piece of career advice you would give to your younger self?
Just give it a go. Like, just try. Just, if we don't try, you know, we'll never know, do we? And it's just, Yeah, just have confidence in yourself. Like, we like to think that everybody's watching our every move, right? But in reality, only if you like shout and wave your hands about it, are people going to see what you're doing? So, like, again, test the waters. Like, just have confidence in yourself and know that if you fall down, if it doesn't work, if you launch your virtual assistant or online business management business and you don't get any clients and nobody talks to you, like, it's okay. Like, there will be somebody there that will need your help, and just try, learn, try again. The motto in our house here is it doesn't matter what mistake you make, it matters how you handle it, how you deal with it, and what you learn from that mistake. So just give it a go. Have confidence in yourself and know that it will all be okay in the end.
I think that's a lovely bit of advice to end on, and I apologise that I will be stealing that motto and definitely be utilising that, in many other places. But thank you for finding the time to talk to me this afternoon, Jen.
That's okay. Thank you.